Hey oil painters, today I'm going to start a new series where I'm going to be diagnosing why your alla prima oil paintings, specifically your portraits, feel like something's just not quite right. And I'm going to start by painting one myself and showing you exactly where things can go wrong, and more importantly, how to catch yourself before they do. My main goal in this video isn't just to show you how to paint a pretty portrait in my style, though. I want to teach you how to make alla prima oil paintings in your voice, not just feeding you for a day, but teaching you to fish, so to speak. I'm going to walk you through how I diagnose what's going wrong when a portrait just feels off, even when you can't put your finger on why. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can submit your own artwork for me to analyze in future videos, so that if you're feeling stuck, you can get an expert set of eyes on your art. But first, if you want the in-depth, baby step by baby step version of what I'm sharing here, I've got a free masterclass that is the perfect follow-on to this video. I suggest opening the link to that masterclass now in another tab or on your phone. It's in the description below, or you can scan this QR code if you're watching on TV, and then watch that masterclass as soon as you finish this one so you know how exactly to put all of this into practice. Let's go ahead and jump into my actual painting so I can start to break this down for you. Before we do, every week someone comments on a video of mine telling me I talk too much. Look, my videos aren't ASMR. I'm here to teach you things. If you don't want to learn about alla prima oil painting, this isn't the channel for you. I don't know what to tell you. But this is going to be one of my favorite series to make because, honestly, most of us, when we get ready to paint a portrait alla prima, we just wind up throwing spaghetti at the wall. We pull up to the easel, we start painting, and we just kind of hope for the best. But here's the thing. You're skipping the most crucial step, which is defining your personal aesthetic for your artwork, your style, your voice. You might have all the technical skills in the world, but if you don't know what aesthetic you're actually going for, your painting is going to feel like it was made by a camera, because the main reference you have most of the time is a photograph. And I'm going to prove this to you by painting a portrait right now, and I'll show you exactly where this kind of thinking gets us into trouble and how to fix it. All right, I'm going to paint this portrait, and I want to show you how I approach this differently than you might be used to. Especially, I'm going to be looking into the gaps that most people just totally gloss over and miss, that really trip us up. So most people would look at our model or models for this painting and they would just start painting. But that's exactly the problem. Before I even touch brush to canvas, I need to answer this question. What artist or what aesthetic am I channeling in this piece? Not what does the model look like, but what is my artistic interpretation of that model going to be? For this painting, and in general, in my entire artistic career, I'm using an inspiration board to guide this process. I outline how to make one of these in that free masterclass I mentioned at the start of this video, and this isn't something that you want to skip or just kind of half-ass. Go through the actual steps to learn your goal style. I have laid it out for you in a foolproof way in that masterclass, and it's going to make sure that this inspiration board actually gives you everything you need to be ready to dive into the painting. I'm going to share my inspiration board here on screen, and what you can see from it is that I'm drawn to a lot of head and shoulders portraits with an abstract background. So that's what you're going to see me create in this video of me painting. So if we compare the model setup to my board, there are a couple of things that stand out though. So first things first, it's a portrait. Yay! Step one complete. Second, I could pretty easily crop this in to just be a head and shoulders composition. So that already takes me a bit closer to my goal aesthetic. But for the third thing, I'll be honest, the lighting, it kind of sucks. I touched on this in my previous video about the 3 mistakes that ruined another painting of mine that I painted in this very same session. The hotel ballroom this was set in had the most beige lighting in the world. It was drab, Everything from the wall color to the carpet to the color of the light bulbs themselves, it just made for an incredibly brown painting. So already, this is an area that really clashes with my goal aesthetic if I put these two things side by side, because the paintings that I see on my inspiration board just don't feature these colors or this kind of lighting. Those portraits are more often lit with a cooler light than we have here in this painting from life setup. So if I just copy what I see here, I'll get a generic realism, which isn't really a style, it's just sort of existing. Plus, the lighting really isn't what I'm drawn to, so I'm probably going to be fighting it the whole time, which I know from experience can lead us to make some really rash decisions that sabotage the painting. So instead, I'm going to interpret this through the lens of my inspiration board. So that means I'm going to be thinking about, how do I need to arrange my subject on the canvas based on my style goals? I'm going to be asking, what colors should I push or exaggerate? And where would I lose some edges to create more impact or to make this feel more artistic? Now, these questions apply whether you're painting from life like I am here, or if you're working from a photograph. In my case, I'm working from life with actual models in front of me. And time was limited, so in this case, the pressure was really on to just copy what I was seeing. But that's exactly the trap that we need to avoid. This is where most paintings succeed or fail, and nobody talks about it. And that is your block-in. It's not just about getting the proportions right. When you do the block-in right, the expressive, interesting strokes that you put down at the beginning are going to show through all the way until the painting is finished, which makes the painting look more effortless and improvisational. Think of a Richard Schmid painting, for instance, where he has these gorgeous brush strokes early on in the piece. They make the painting look so stinking fresh because he didn't go in and work them to death. The stroke that he uses at the very beginning would work all the way until the very end. So watch how I'm blocking this in. I'm not just blitzing through this stage so I can get to the good stuff. I'm already pushing toward my goal look for the painting by trying to lay down brushstrokes that shouldn't need to be covered up later in the process. That's an interpretive choice, not a copying choice. And as I establish my flesh tones and background colors, I'm thinking the exact same way, asking, how can I lay down something that moves me as close to my end goal as possible in these initial stages? And here is where most people go wrong. They get to this stage and they think, okay, now I start painting. But look, if the block-in doesn't already feel like it's headed toward my target aesthetic, I need to stop and fix it now, rather than just rushing into detail. Your block-in should look like an elegant, simplified version of your vision for the final painting. If it just looks like a neutral, accurate version of just what's right in front of you, you've already missed the boat. In fact, let me tell you the 3 biggest mistakes I see in alla prima portraiture, because I've made all of these myself. So mistake number 1 is what I'm going to call the photocopier trap. This is where you paint something that's technically correct, but emotionally flat, especially when it comes to painting people. So maybe you can draw well, you mix accurate colors, but your paintings feel like they have no personality because you never actually decided what aesthetic you were going for. Usually, this means you were really just copying the photo. But when you get sick of just copying photos, you fall into mistake number 2. This is when you try to inject some panache into the composition, but you do it totally by the seat of your pants, and it shows. This happens because you tell yourself, I'm just going to wing it. After all, I want this to be natural. I want this to come from this authentic place within me. So I'm not going to try to control it. So you pick up your brush and you just start scribbling in random background brushstrokes. So you pick up your brush and you start just scribbling in random energetic brushstrokes But instead of a sergeant, you get left with a painting that feels more like your grandchild could have made it. And then finally, we have mistake number 3. This is a big one for every kind of painter. When something feels off with your likeness, you think to yourself, I can just fix it in the next layer, or I'll fix it as I bring it to a finish. But if your foundation, your block-in, isn't solid, all the rendering in the world won't save your painting because you were too busy painting to pause and fix your drawing. I can't tell you how often I have students who tell me they knew their likeness was off in a portrait and they knew it from really early on, but they didn't pause to diagnose why, and they just kept rendering the same slightly deformed looking portrait instead of just taking 5 minutes to use any number of drawing tools to help fix the proportions and actually get everything back on track. At the end of the day, it's better to stop and figure out what's not working and address it at the root level than just try to blitz through because you're in a hurry. And the sooner you take this step, the better, which is why I try to start doing this always in the block-in stage. I essentially don't want to move out of my block-in until I know that all of the proportions are really accurate and I can trust those to see me through to the very end of the painting. All right. Now on this painting, ultimately, I ran out of time because the event had ended and we all had to vacate the space we were painting in, models included. By this point, is the painting perfect? No. But does it feel cohesive? Does it have a point of view? Does it feel like it was painted by someone with intention rather than someone just being a photocopier? I think so. The key is that every decision I made supported and aligned with my overall vision for my artwork. I wasn't just painting a portrait. I was painting a portrait in my style. And that framework guided every brushstroke. Okay, so this is where you come in. I want to start featuring your paintings in this series on my channel. I want to help you to diagnose what's going wrong and how to fix it. But here's the thing. I don't just want to look at your paintings and tell you that they're pretty. I want to teach you the diagnostic process that I just outlined to you. I want to help you develop your own artistic voice instead of just painting good enough. So if you want to be part of that series, here's what I need you to do. Step 1, check out the masterclass where I dive deeper into this whole concept of artistic vision and how to develop your personal style in oil painting. It's free. The link is in the description. Or again, if you're watching on your TV, you can scan the QR code here to be able to watch the masterclass. And don't worry, even if you don't want to share your work on my channel for any reason, take this step. It's really just going to be so helpful. Go ahead and do that right now, no matter what. Now, step 2, after you watch the class, I'm going to send you an email with more details about how you can submit your work to me. When you do that, if you want your work to be shown on my channel, mention that you would like your work to be featured in a future YouTube video. And then step 3, start painting with intention, following the steps that I outline in the masterclass. Disrupt the pattern of just painting from the photos you have on your iPhone and actually ask what needs to happen from the reference to the final brushstrokes to make a painting truly yours. And then last advice before you get in the studio. Look, developing your artistic voice isn't about finding some mystical, authentic self. You don't have to go on a vision quest or have a divine epiphany. You just need to make conscious choices instead of default choices. This is about painting with intention instead of just painting with competence. And honestly, once you start thinking this way, painting becomes so much more fun. Instead of just trying to make things look right, you wind up creating things that feel like uniquely yours. And the more you paint with this kind of intention, the more automatic it becomes, and the more authentic it actually feels, the more intuitive it's going to be. So go check out that masterclass, start submitting your oil paintings, and let's figure out together why your portraits might be feeling off and how to fix them. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully with your painting on the easel. Until then, happy painting.